I'm at the GSMA's headquarters in London. I'm speaking with Claire Maslen about developments in the mobile commerce sector. So Claire, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So just tell us a little bit about your job here at the GSMA.
Of course. So I'm responsible for outreach to the finance sector, which commerce obviously is all about. It's central to that. My background, I was at O2 Telefonica for a decade, working on near-field communications and the commerce strategy that supported that.
Okay, so you've got a background, you brought that into the GSMA, and you're engaging with the financial sector and then the operators as well, the mobile operators?
Yes, yeah. My role tends to be more industry-focused rather than with our members. But yes, I deal with card schemes, issuing banks, retailers, transit companies, actually anyone that is using a payment.
Okay. So what are the major trends you're seeing at the moment in terms of the relationship and interaction between those kind of financial institutions and the mobile operators?
So I think it's been an interesting couple of years because everything, as a mobile industry, we have a history of being very technology led. And actually what we're trying to do now is really move away from talking about the technology and focusing on customer benefits and customer needs.
And making some money?
Making money is hugely important, obviously, for sustainable revenue models. But I think if you think about commerce, we talk about payments. People don't want to pay for anything. What people want is the experience that they may get at the end of that payment. Right,
okay. So, obviously this kind of mobile commerce and development and being able to use your device and apps to pay for things has been coming along for a few years, has been trialled by a number of operators. Where are we now in terms of what kind of approaches, what kind of business practices and business plans are we at between the financial institutions and the operators? How have things moved on?
So I think that if you go back sort of 4 or 5 years, there was a lot of talk about who owns the customer, who leads that relationship. The customer owns the customer. It's my data, it's my information. And actually it's down to me who I will maintain my financial relationships with. So it would be naive of an operator to dictate that you will suddenly move all of your finances to them. So what we've seen is this shift towards partnerships, and I think that that is actually key to the success of this moving forward. People are realizing that they have core attributes, so the operators have scale, they have customer reach, they have high customer satisfaction. Banks are used to dealing with the regulatory landscape and all of the legal aspects of handling money and handling people's money. If you bring those skills together and they are complementary, actually the only person that will win is the customer.
Right, okay. So you mentioned regulation there. Now that's one of the 3 pillars of the approach you have to the market?
Yeah, so with the digital commerce programme at the GSMA, we tend to think that the payments landscape is changing. And why is it changing? Well, there are 3 elements to that. Regulation, technology, and then customer need. So from technology perspective, we look at things like tokenization, which, as you know, is a real word now and everyone's talking about it.
Maybe we'll come back to that in a minute so we can all understand it. But,
And then we have customer needs. So people are more aware of the fact that they can use their devices in-store, in-app and online to either make a payment or authenticate against a payment. And then you've got regulation. And obviously that is geographically split because there are different regulatory environments. But certainly across Europe, with the Payment Services Directive or PSD2, that you'll hear lots and lots about that over the coming months. PSD2 is really to try and create a level playing field for existing organisations, so traditional incumbent financial players, and allow further competition by new entrants coming into the market. And that has some very, very interesting aspects to it.
Okay. Regulation very often seen as an inhibitor for the operators, but this is an example where regulation is actually going to be a catalyst.
Absolutely, and I don't think it's I don't think we can look and say, oh, well, actually, just because innovation is mentioned in PSD2, it doesn't give a blanket opportunity for people to avoid regulatory topics, but what it is doing is trying to make regulation clearer for people to understand and open up new channels for new organisations so that it creates that competitive landscape for people.
Okay. Now, a couple of minutes ago you mentioned tokenisation.
Yeah.
Now, I think that was a big topic at last year's
Yep.
Mobile World Commerce. So can you just explain, and I certainly saw some examples of that on the show floor last year. Can you explain, what that is for people that aren't familiar with it,
Yeah.
and also how that's evolving as a business practice and as an application?
Okay, so the age-old problem has been getting a consumer's data onto a device or onto a SIM, and then allowing them to go out and use that data that's contained within to make a transaction. Tokenisation gets rid of the official 16-digit number that you have on the front of your card, and it gives you an identity. It's a different token that represents that number. So a scenario could be your phone got stolen or you lost your card. By having a token, actually, the data is held on a back-end system that then allows the owner who owns the keys to those tokens to kill that token, so it is useless. The information is useless.
Oh, okay.
So if it's hacked, if someone physically steals it, or if it's intercepted and hacked through the network, the data that they get is irrelevant and it's useless. So tokenisation has been driven out of the card schemes, and it's standardised through EMVCo. So MasterCard, Visa, American Express are all part of this.
Okay.
And it's really seen as a much safer concept for consumers' data.
Right, so obviously security very, very important as well for consumers and the operators and everybody.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly, this was initially being driven out by some of the operators in the Far East, in Korea and so forth. Is this now operators around the world sort of latching onto this and using this as part of their strategies?
Yeah, I think, mobile financial services, if we think about the mobile device, it's in your hand. You walk out of the tubes in London, first thing people do is they reach for their device. We are living in this kind of super connected, ultra-connected environment where people seem to not be able to put their devices down. One of the things that we all need to do is manage our money. And so actually, whilst we focus on digital commerce, we're thinking about transacting and spending money and getting purchases completed. If you think about financial health and being able to have transparency around your financial transactions, mobile is perfect for that because of the immediacy that it's in your hand. So it presents a perfect opportunity for operators to really create a new business channel for them.
And are they embracing that globally? Do you see actual developments?
Yeah, I think so. And it's very interesting to see the developments coming from many of those emerging markets.
Right,
We've
yes.
seen massive successes, and the socio-economic benefits that those bring to countries and to those environments. And actually, there's a lot that can be learnt from those emerging markets into the developed markets.
Okay.
I think that's actually quite a shift from how it's been previously.
Right, and that's a process ongoing at the moment, that some of these lessons are being learned, slowly coming into the market.
Yeah, and I think there is a pragmatism. This has been a very, very long journey. I mentioned that I worked on it, for a decade within one operator. I've been here for a couple of years working on this. It's a very long journey because it is hard and it is changing people's behaviours.
Yes.
So you are understanding how consumers react differently to technology. We're seeing how these collaborative partnerships, that's actually the way forward to do that. It's not about one party owning the entire piece.
Right, big cultural shift for everybody then.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, the cultural side of it is very, very important. I think, operators, from having been in an operator, we're often, very quarter on quarter trading focused. It's about number of connections. taking new models like, or new sales environments such as digital commerce or transit or health, these really take a big mind shift for operators to understand that it's a much longer cycle, but at the end of it, the prize should be great.
Okay. So there's a cultural transformation undergoing, there's new technology, but then there's business strategy and business plan transformation as well. And an example of that is what Orange is doing at the moment. Is that a good example? It looks like it's pretty much going to become a bank.
Yeah, I mean that is probably the first one that we've seen where they have acquired, the bank. Other operators across Europe have applied for an e-money license, and that is as a result of the PSD, the Payment Services Directive. So that would have been first operators sort of dipping their toe in the water and getting into that regulatory thing. We've seen others that have partnered with banks.
Right.
So there are these different models, and it is quite a bold transformational move what Orange have done.
Okay. And so what can we expect to hear on the digital commerce side at Mobile World Congress this year?
So this year we're going to be talking a lot about contextual commerce, and that really means that actually we know who you are, Ray, and we know what you like to do, and we know you drink coffee and like sport. And
you know me so well.
So what we can do is start to build up a profile of you with the data analytics behind it, all with your permission. And give you an opportunity to opt in more to offers, and it's building on that mobile advertising story that we heard about 3 or 4 years ago.
So analytics is a real key part of this.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But it has to be permission-led.
Yeah.
So from a consumer's perspective, this isn't Big Brother. This isn't, someone coming along and taking your data and doing something with it that you don't know about. It's about you being in control of it, you having transparency, being able to opt in, opt out, as you see fit.
Empowering the user.
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. All right, Claire, thanks very much for talking to us today.
Thank you.